What's up, Blue players? It's your homie C-Rod, and today I'm gonna give you the 10 most awesome decks that were released in the year 2020. It was a hard list to come up with, to be honest, but I broke my head and I just got all the leaders and minimized it to a list of 10, and these are going to be the decks that not only were some of the most popular decks, but also were very powerful and would consistently win when they were announced. Obviously the meta right now is a lot different, but without further ado, let's get straight into the 10 most popular and meta-like decks in 2020. So let's start off with the one and only Bibbidi, leader of the Agents of Destruction. So this leader right here made a huge debut when it came out in the anniversary box because it used all of the Agent of Destruction cards that were honestly very powerful because they had the spamming ability with the leader of Bibbidi and Majin Buu. So this deck consisted of using all of the AODs like Turles to draw cards, and obviously the exclusive cards to the anniversary box, which happens to be the Broly, the Hatchyak, the Garlic Jr. All those made this deck definitely one of the most hype ones when it came out, but then eventually it lost its steam. So Bibbidi was definitely one of the best of 2020. Now we got Frieza, Last Resort, and this Frieza had so much hype when it came out thanks to Brian Samuel, the national champion, and it's looking like he's gonna stay as the national champion since national got canceled because of the whole COVID situation. But this guy made this deck very popular. This is the Frieza starter deck, if you guys are unaware, and this deck was very strong when it came out because of its hand destruction abilities, and with the release of Zarbon Cosmic Elite, it really made this deck shine to its ultimate prime. Definitely was considered meta for a while, but then it eventually lost its steam. But for sure, without a doubt, it deserves its spot in the 10 best decks released in 2020. After that, we are going to be talking about the Yellow Gotenks. This deck came out in this year 2020, and it was very popular, especially for the fact that this card is able to self-awaken, and if your opponent uses extra cards, it's gonna give you a lot of advantages because you're gonna be drawing. And not only that, this deck used the Union Fusion mechanic, which is getting 2 cards that make the fusion and bring out the fusion Gotenks out onto the field. And this deck really utilized all the apes that came out, like the Great Ape Bardock, to be able to bring out a 20k double strike when you combo, and obviously using all the new ape mechanics and using Bergamo as well in there for a little splash. This deck was very popular and stack up enough battle cards on the field to be able to bring out the Celzino that, you know, quadruple strikes your opponent. This deck was very popular when it came out. Talking about another awesome deck that came out in 2020, we got Vegito. And this Vegito is also another starter deck exclusive leader, and this deck is actually very powerful, especially with so much new support from the blue engine, like having the new Son Goku and Hit Supreme Alliance that would come out onto the field and it would block, and the leader was able to really abuse the new mechanic of the Unison, and that right there allowed you to go for game with the Unison. And there are now so much better Unison cards coming out, like the Super Baby, that's able to allow you to finish off your opponent by bringing out that counterplay ape. Overall, Vegito was one of the most hype decks for a long time, and it was also very meta-like. And moving on to the next card that is one of the best and deserves its spot on this list happens to be Broly, the Awakened Demon. This card right here, this deck right here, is really darn powerful. It uses the new Broly swap mechanic where you use the little baby Broly to go into the base form Broly to go into the big form double strike crit Broly. And overall, this deck is very aggressive, very aggro like, and it causes a lot of pressure and could ultimately kill a lot of decks because it rushes them down so fast. This deck definitely deserves a spot on this list because of its aggressive plays, and obviously it's Broly, so it got a lot of hype when it came out. Now, we're going to be talking about another Broly leader and another Broly deck. This is the Dark Broly, the Super Saiyan 4 Dark Broly and Paragus. Now, this deck didn't get as much hype when it just was released, but a little bit later, like a month later, people really started to dive into the Dark Broly deck, and my gosh, this deck is now meta, and it definitely deserves its spot on the top 5 meta decks in December for the moment, without a doubt. So I might make a video on that. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Also, which one of these decks you played the most in 2020, or did you play an old leader or a leader that it's not on this list? But we got Dark Broly definitely making a comeback, bringing out the big Dark Brolys from the drop area onto the field and really abusing the overrealm as well, especially with the release of the new Demigra card. It really buffed up this deck a lot. So now moving on to another fan favorite and a throwback to the first starter deck ever. We got Super Saiyan God Son Goku Soul Striking Reborn. Now this guy is honestly one of the most awesome leaders to play because of the fact that the leader is able to restand your blue energy, and doing that really allows you to take advantage of your energy and bring out a lot of battle cards to ultimately kill your opponent, and it's a lot of fun to play. This deck right here got a lot of hype as soon as they released more 3-drop unisons like the baby, because now you're actually able to awaken with an awesome unison on the field, and obviously you're gonna use and abuse Obuni to bring out the tokens. And yeah, this deck for sure, without a doubt, deserves its spot in the 10 best decks in 2020. So then we got Shinron. We're almost finished with this list. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button and feel free to subscribe for more card game content. We're doing Digimon now. Also, let me know if you guys love Dragon Ball content. If you do, smash that like and we'll drop more Dragon Ball. But yeah, we got Shinron. Definitely deserves the list, to be in the list because of the fact that it's just so darn consistent, and the archetype of the Shadow Dragons is actually very, very fun to play and powerful. Don't get me wrong, this deck is really powerful. The fact that you're able to bring out the big Shadow Dragon Shinron that's able to ultimately just nullify anything that's coming out. I kid you not, guys. Shinron deck is something you don't want to mess with. It gets around a bunch of other decks, especially with that Machikabura that's able to steal your opponent's cards. Very, very awesome. So the last 2 decks, obviously one of the best decks that came out all 2020 happens to be Vegeta Xeno and Trunks Xeno, otherwise known as Vegex. Now this deck right here abuses all the black cards that have to do with Overrealm and that have to do with spamming out onto the field. It has one of the strongest unisons that comes out for free if you mill it, which happens to be Gotenks. Honestly, this deck and this leader is by far probably the best one that came out all 2020. Without a doubt, hit it up in the comment section below if you agree with me that Vegex starter deck was probably the best deck that came out 2020. And now we got Gotenks to finish off the video. This is gonna be the last card I'm talking about that made this top 10 best decks of 2020 list. We got Gotenks Extravagant Assault, the green one. This one is actually still meta. It's one of the best decks in the game right now because you're just able to abuse the Union Fusion and be able to bring out Gotenks to remove cards with barrier, draw cards, replenish your fusion materials, and ultimately abuse Dormant Potential Unleashed that will protect you from dying. And that is going to be my top 10, or it's not even a top 10. That's going to be my 10 best decks that came out in 2020. Feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section below if I did not say your favorite deck of 2020. So I'm going to finish off the video like that. Leave me a like for more Dragon Ball content. And like we always say, y'all stay super. Peace. Always pull up with my Android 18, Broly and Cell, all in my team.